Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga, and welcome to Soft Flow Yoga. Thanks for joining me. We're going to take the lunge to a new level where we're going to be working our hip flexors. You're going to need a blanket and maybe a couple of blocks. I think that's it, so let's get to it. Before we get into our lunge practice today, we'd like to start in seated and come to breath. I'd like to take a few deep breaths, a nice full inhale, and a complete exhale. Just taking an opportunity to get settled, to be more present and connected as we make our way into our practice together. Another nice full breath in. Just feel that nice expansion in your lungs and opening of your heart space. And exhale. And just continue with slow, steady breaths. You can do this with your eyes opened, and if they are open, just take a soft gaze forward or downward at the ground, or feel free just to close your eyes. As you inhale, just feel the breath rising, filling up your lungs, and the exhale. Just slow, steady breaths here. Breathing in a way where you can feel your breath and hear your breath. A nice meditative moment, settling your mind, settling your body. Also a nice opportunity to create a personal intention for your practice. So whatever comes to mind, whatever comes to your heart, whatever you're needing for yourself today, just integrate that into your yoga practice, and it can begin here with your breathing meditation. Good. Take 3 more breaths here, and then we'll add a very simple movement. And when you're ready to move, simply inhale and extend your arms out and all the way up, reaching high. And exhale, extend your arms out with a bit of effort in your hands and fingers as if you'll touch the walls on either side of you. Completing the exhale as your arms come back down to your side. Let's do that again. Nice full breath in, reaching out with effort, reaching all the way up. Treat it like a nice stretch. And exhale, reaching out and down. Now let's go ahead and do this a few more times, but feel free to move and breathe at your own pace. Don't worry if you're not moving exactly how I am or at the same pace. You can just keep your eyes closed and just follow your own breath, feeling your body in motion. And since you are moving slowly here, continue to feel the energy in your arms, hands, and fingers, reaching all the way up. Feel that nice lengthening through the sides of your body. Awareness of your shoulders. And of course, the awareness of your breath. Now go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. Take your time. And when you're complete, go ahead and just let your arms rest down by your side, or you can just let them rest on your legs or even in your lap. Just taking a moment in stillness. Let's make a transition to our hands and knees. So take your time here. This is where you might want to use your blanket or a big towel, or even double up on your yoga mats just to have some extra padding underneath you. I like to open up my blanket to a rectangle here, have my knees at one end and my hands at the other, right here. Moving through cat and cow pose, starting with the cow pose, which is an inhale. We like to start with the back end and an inhale. So the inhale, tipping the pelvis back, feeling how the belly drops to create this natural arch or back bend sensation. Opening the heart and look forward. That's the in-breath. Exhale, starting with the back end. Tuck the tailbone under Feel the belly button pull up towards spine, a nice curvature in the spine, chin to chest. Cat. Inhale to cow, tip the pelvis back, belly drops. There's the arched back, our opened heart. Look forward, exhale. Tuck pelvis under. Navel pulls in, rounded spine, chin to chest. Now go ahead and continue at your own pace. Nice fluid motions here. A wonderful undulation through the spine to create some more opening up through the entire back body. And the rocking of the pelvis to help open up the pelvic region and the low back. Go ahead and finish the breath that you're on here and take 2 more breaths. And when you're complete, just come to a neutral tabletop posture. Neck is long and neutral. Your gaze is downward, just down between your thumbs. Hold for a moment. Then moving to what I call half hero pose, just tuck your toes and walk your hands towards your knees until you're able to lift your hands off the floor. Since we get that forced flex sensation in our tabletop posture, just going to counter that by flipping the palm down, and I like to do a light pulse of the top of the hand on my blanket here. I'm not pressing hard at all, just a very gentle pulse. Another thing you could do is actually circle the wrist, even wiggle your fingers, just to take some of that pressure off the wrist there. When you're complete, we're going to come off the blanket or any pad that you might be using and just set that to the side, and we'll get set up for our downward facing dog. So come back to your neutral tabletop posture, your hands and wrists directly underneath the shoulders here, but we're going to change that. Let's step the hands forward, and as you do so, spread out your fingers pretty wide so you can feel the stretch between each finger. And a simple lean into the hands, pressing the flat palms down into the floor. And as you feel that sensation, also notice the strength and length in your arms. Maintain that sensation. Then tuck your toes again. Move through another cat-cow flow. Inhale to cow, that's the back bend. Exhale, rounding the spine into cat. Hold cat, making sure toes are tucked so you can lift the knees off the floor and then send the hips into the air. And of course, your hands are pushing firmly into the floor. Arms are straight and strong, and just feel the head and chest sink between the arms. If you need to, you might need to adjust the feet. I take mine slightly forward and slightly wider. And do the same with the hands, slightly wider, just to create a little bit more space for my shoulders. Keeping a good knee bend allows the hips to lift up a little higher, chest sinks, relax the head. Just a couple breaths here in this inverted posture. From here, take a few steps forward, maybe just to the center of your mat until your feet feel flat on the ground, and just slide your fingertips towards your toes. You'll be in a forward fold. Here, we'll inhale and slide the hands up to the shins or knees, only rising up halfway to a flat back, being sure the feet feel solid on the ground. You can keep a good bend in the knees, and just feel how your torso, your whole upper body is parallel to the floor. Just hold for a moment. We'll continue to stand tall, first by shifting the weight back into the heel so your toes are light. You can tap your toes. Bend your knees to lower your hips as if you're sitting down. You can even bring your hands up to your thighs. I like to push into thighs just to extend spine in this chair-like position. I just want to ensure the spine is long. That way I don't strain my back and really just use the strength of the legs here. Then push heels into the floor, hands into thighs to help stand up tall. Continue growing tall by extending the arms into the air with an inhale, and exhale, bring your arms down to your side. Very nice. So our first standing posture, just take a moment, check in with your shoulders. Maybe circle the shoulders back a few times and forward. Check in with your elbows, just checking with the joints, wrists, and fingers. All right, let's go through our half salute, which is a standing posture that moves into a forward fold, and we come back up. So standing near the top of the mat, I usually like to leave a little space between the toes and the front edge of the mat. Nice and tall here. Here we go. Inhale, extend arms out and up. Reach and stretch. Exhale, spread your wings and sit back into an imaginary chair. That weight shift back into the hips and heels. Again, you can lift your toes. Hands can come to thighs, and I like to slide down the shins towards the ankles and toes. You don't have to go down all the way, maybe just to a spot where you start to feel a little hamstring stretch. Wherever you are, maybe just release your head. Let it go loose. Then inhale, slide your hands back up to shins or knees, rise up to that halfway mark. We'll pause for a moment. Solid feet on the ground, soft knees, torso parallel to the floor. Shifting weight back into the heels, bend the knees to lower hips, hands to thighs. Push up to that 45-degree angle to our chair pose to ensure the lengthened spine. Then continue standing tall. Inhale, reaching into the air, and exhale, arms down to your side. Very nice. Alrighty. We're going to be moving into our first lunge position, which is going to be down on our knees, but we're going to make our way down there through a vinyasa flow. So coming back to the top of the mat, again, leaving a little space between your toes and the front edge of your mat. Here we go. Inhale, reaching out and up, good lengthening through the sides of the body. Exhale, spread wings, sit back into the imaginary chair. Take your time, hands to thighs for support if you'd like. Slide down the shins to your forward fold. A partial fold is fine. We're going all the way down or to a place that feels good. Releasing head, neck, and shoulders. Inhale, slide hands up to shins or knees, flat back. Now we're going to go back down, sliding down. Bend the knees a whole lot more so you can place the hands into that space that you've created in front of your toes. And then start walking or stepping the feet to the back end of your mat, lowering the hips to about shoulder level, and we're in plank pose. Let's hold here for a moment. Good strength in the upper body. Now we're going to bring knees to the floor and then sit back either to a full hero with flat feet or what I call the half hero with tucked toes, and just come back a little bit. We're just going to get things set up here, really just getting our props set up here. I'm going to use my blocks and a blanket for some padding. So let me get this all set up. Something like this. And so I got the blanket. I'm just going to get my knees up onto the blanket here. Now the blocks are just going to act as extension of my arms. Now you don't have to do this, but it's just a nice little tool to use. So I'm going to just come back up onto my knees here. We're going to get into a kneeling low lunge. We're going to step the right foot forward, but what I'll do, I'll take my extension of my arms over to my left side here, lean into the block so I can easily step this right foot forward. Then I'm going to bring this one back to this side. Okay, and then up here, right hand on thigh. We're going to go into a lunge, but not too deeply. And as you may notice, my legs are at a 90-degree angle here, my back leg and this front leg. I'm going to change this front leg. I'm going to lean back a little bit, taking the weight off the foot so I can wiggle the toes forward, perhaps right up to the edge of the mat, just changing this angle. So I'm going to move this into a lunge, and I might even use my blocks again. So I'm just going to make sure they're on either side of me, ready to go. But start here, hands on thigh, push into thigh, feel tall. On the exhale, start to lunge forward just a little bit and until you start to feel a light stretch in the left leg, hip flexor region. That's probably just below the waistline into the upper thigh region. You don't have to go too deeply here. Even if you're very flexible or even if you feel quite tight here, you don't have to go very far. Just enough where you start to feel a sensation. So this is fine here. Now, the taller you are, like this, you might start to feel this in your low back, and that's fine unless you don't want to have that back bend feeling. You can just lean forward. I'm just leaning towards this front leg, and if you go a little lower, you can come down and then use those props, the blocks. So I'm just going to hold here for a moment. There. I'm in a nice spot where I have a gentle stretch happening in my left hip flexor. Nice deep breaths. Now we're going to do this on both sides, of course. And then we're going to do a standing version of this, which I usually call high lunge. Sometimes it's called crescent lunge. All right, a few more breaths. Again, light stretches here. Because it's a light stretch, you can actually hold this perhaps for a long period of time without feeling like you're straining your body. And that's something I like to encourage in our soft flow practice. Let's take about 3 more breaths. With this leaning forward, I can just feel kind of this natural weight pulling forward to get that nice stretch. All right, to come out of the pose, we're just going to use these blocks just to help push and come out of the posture. Alrighty, so same thing, I'm going to bring my extension of my arms over to my left side so I can bring this right foot back and come back to my knees. Alrighty, you can just come back to neutral for a moment. We're just going to do the exact same thing other side. Use the extension of my arms over to the right side to bring left foot forward. And then bring these on either side. Up top here probably works well. Maybe hands to thigh to help climb up. 90-degree angles initially with the legs, changing this slightly, leaning back, wiggle the toes up towards the edge of the mat. Now we're doing that because since we're moving forward, we don't want to put too much pressure in the knee joint here. I'll demonstrate or I'll show you what happens to the knee as far as its alignment, so it remains safe. So we'll place the hands on the thigh, feel tall, just making space around the belt line. Exhale, start to lunge forward. So you can see this shift. So the leg kind of returns to that 90-degree angle. Meanwhile, I'm feeling that nice stretch in the right hip flexor. Coming out of that back bend sensation by using the blocks. Now, as I can feel my body starting to shift forward a bit more. All I'm going to do is just wiggle the toes forward a little bit, just so I can prevent any strain in the shin or in the knee. Leaning forward, using the blocks for support, that natural sinking sensation in that right side, but not too deep, just enough where I feel the stretch and release in the right hip flexor. We'll hold here. Again, holding as long as you'd like for these postures, but again, not too forcefully so that you can hold it and not feel like you're straining. Let's go ahead and take 3 more breaths. After your 3rd breath, just using these nice blocks to kind of push away from that deep lunge. Using the extension of the arms, coming over to the right side, bringing this left leg back, hands and knees, or just knees here. I'm going to leave my blocks over here, come back to center, and actually bring my hands to the ground. I'm just going to come off the blanket and set it to the side. Finish with that for now. So we're back on hands and knees. Returning to down dog. So let's do the same setup. Let's step the hands forward. Be sure to spread out the fingers so we can continue the nice stretch between each finger. Lean into the hands, flat palms, strong straight arms. Tuck toes. Cat, cow. Inhale for cow. That's our back bend. Exhale, round it out. Cat. Hold. Lift knees. Send hips into the air. Head and chest sink. Make any adjustments with feet and hands. We'll just take a moment in our down dog, making sure the knees stay bent, hips maybe continue to rise. Strong palm press into the mat. Relax the head. Let's take a walk up to the center of the mat, flat feet. Slide your fingers towards toes. Deep forward fold. Inhale, slide hands up to shins or knees. Half forward fold. Pause for a moment. Weight shift into the heels, bend the knees, lower your hips, hands to thighs, extend spine in our chair pose. Drive heels into the floor, hands into thighs to help you stand up tall, reaching all the way up. And exhale, arms down to your side. Very nice. Okay, now we'll do our standing lunge or high lunge or crescent lunge. Same effect here for the hip flexors. We're just going to do this from a standing position. Mountain pose. Soft knees. I'm going to shift my weight over into my right foot. Leaning forward just a tiny bit, I can feel my right set of toes grip the mat just so I can stay steady. And meanwhile, I can tap this left foot back. Okay? Keeping my balance, just take your time with this. I'm going to try to go back a few steps more. Right about there should do it. We can make sure we got a nice knee bend here, and I can feel myself feel a little wobbly here. That's because we're not steady on the floor here with that back foot. I can almost tip over. So we want to energize the legs. Squeeze them in towards center. Squeeze to center like you're holding on to something between the knees. That should firm up the legs. Then go ahead and extend the arms straight up just to get some lengthening to the sides of the body. And we're starting to get into this left hip flexor. Now what I'm going to do actually is lean forward slightly and see if I can take 1/2 of a step back. There. Now I'm really feeling this left hip flexor stretch. It's not too strong or forceful, but just enough. So we'll start with the arms straight up. You can certainly bend elbows. We're going to do several arm postures as we hold this lunge. You can bring the arms out to the side. Flip the palms back, just getting into the shoulders a little bit. Reach back, lean forward. Drop the hands, rise up tall, reach up into the air. Just a little shoulder work. Okay? Inhale. And exhale, we'll just bring the hands right down to the thigh here, leaning forward. And then shifting the weight forward, stepping forward. Take as many steps as you need to. So if you need to do that, just to bring the feet closer together. So we're back into our chair-like position. Go ahead and rise up nice and tall. Reach into the air. Exhale, arms down to your side. So while we were in our lunge, just added a little shoulder work. Okay, same thing, other side. Soft knees, shifting weight into left foot, leaning forward slightly, gripping the mat with the toes, lightening up the right foot so I can tap it back. First, just tap it back until it can't go back anymore. Shifting weight into that foot a little bit. Keep going until you just find the lunge that feels good. Bending the knees. Hug to midline or squeeze to center, feeling like you're holding onto something between the knees to energize the legs so you can hold this balancing lunge. I'm going to inhale and take the arms out and up. There's our crescent lunge. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to lean forward a little bit and just step back just a tiny bit more. There's the sensation I would like, right through that right hip flexor. So this is really considered not only leg work, it's also balance work, good focus, and then we'll pay attention now to our arms. Reaching up, let's bend elbows, getting into our shoulders a little bit. Extend the arms out to the side. Now palms are facing forward. We're going to flip them so they're facing to the back. That's going to get this inner rotation of the shoulder. Reach back like you're bringing the palms together as you lean forward. Even imagine you're going to squeeze a box behind you. I'm going to drop the arms, rise up tall, reach forward, and then back up with the arms. That's it. Inhale here. Exhale, just bring the hands down to your thigh. Lean forward. Bend that back knee to give you some leverage so you can start stepping forward. Return to the top of the mat. Here's our chair pose. And then we'll inhale, come all the way back up to standing. Reach into the air. Exhale, arms down to your side. Good. If you want to, just kind of shake loose. Alrighty, let's make our way down to the ground to finish our practice. Here we go. Inhale, reaching into the air. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back into the imaginary chair. Hands can come to thighs. Slide down the shins to your forward fold. We're going to inhale, slide the hands up partially to help extend spine. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees more so you can place your hands in that space between the front edge of your mat and toes. So you can walk or step the feet back to the back end. Lower the hips to shoulder level. Here's plank pose. Pause for strength. And then we'll bring knees to the floor. We'll sit all the way back into our hero. Sit off to the side. Swing legs around to the front. Scoot forward. Grab one of your blocks. Go ahead and roll down onto your back. Bend knees, feet flat on the floor. Let's just let the body settle for a moment. We're just going to do one more pose here just to get into the hip flexors one last time. Making sure feet feel planted into the earth. Inhale, fill up the lungs. As you exhale, make sure you got a block in one hand. Press feet into the floor. Lift hips high enough so you can slide your block underneath you. I'm going to turn mine to level 2 just to give me a little bit of height, getting it into the right spot so I can take a seat. I'm taking my feet a bit wider for a little bit more stability. And here's my supported bridge pose, a back bend of sorts. Light, gentle release in the front body. Low belly, even across the chest, but our focus is our hip flexors. We're just going to hold here for just a few breaths. A nice counter pose to sitting and forward folding, creating some mild back bend. We typically like to do bridge pose and soft flow, but perhaps the supported bridge is a nice alternative. And because we're seated, of course, you can stay here as long as you'd like. But for now, we'll just take 3 more breaths. Ready to come out of your pose. Just re-energize the body. Inhale, filling up your lungs on the exhale. Press feet firmly into the earth so you can lift the hips so you can remove the block out from underneath you. And then slowly, taking your time, return to the ground. And once you've softly landed, go ahead and extend the legs out in front of you and your arms behind you, just for a nice stretch. Take another inhale. In the exhale, just bring the arms down to your side and let everything completely relax. Feet just kind of fall open, which opens up the legs and relaxes the legs. Notice how your back body just sinks into the earth. Flip your palms up. That'll just keep the nice rotation, outer rotation of the shoulders, helping to open up the heart. And just settle into stillness. And as you come back to this still body, pay attention to your breathing, just as we did at the beginning of our practice. Again, you can keep your eyes opened. If they are opened, just soft eyelids, gazing beyond the ceiling, or just simply close your eyes, noticing, feeling the breath. And although it might be soft, listening to the sound of the breath. Just like with our poses today, feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. This is your resting moment, your meditative moment. Even as I end the practice, feel free to stay right where you are. And when you are ready to move, rather than moving too quickly or right away, start with breath movement. Take a few deep breaths, starting to feel movement return to your body. Take 5 breaths here, generating energy, letting it flow throughout your entire system. And after your 5th breath, moving in slow motion, You might bend your knees so you can plant your feet just to help maneuver your body, rolling to one side. You might pause here for a moment in this nurturing pose. And slowly press and lift so you can come to seated. Feel free to just sit on your mat or bring in a prop if you'd like to sit on. Find your comfortable seat and just feel this nicely extended spine. Relax shoulders. Take a breath or two. Good. And one last movement together. Inhale, extend your arms out and up. Then exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart space. Taking one more full breath in and out on your own. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste.
Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.